Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla. We have a massive week ahead of us with, of course, earnings on a Wednesday after the bell, which I think is going to be a pretty cataclysmic event, for better or for worse. And we'll try to discuss and see what we can expect from it roughly here. It's going to be hard to tell because earnings is such a major catalyst that is pretty kind of like an unknown factor, but we'll do our best to try to figure out what we can expect from it overall. Now, all that being said and done, if you enjoyed, don't forget to hit that like button. Again, this is not financial advice. I am not a financial advisor, and my membership section on YouTube is down below if you're interested. $3 or $2.99. where I share my intraday thoughts on Tesla. But let's just jump right into it. Apologies for the late video. I had some IRL stuff come up. But moving into it, Tesla looking like closing a beautiful day, 3.2%, putting us just shy over $290 per share, which is a pretty decent spot to close at. So I'll go over some other things that's important as well. And of course, this is off of the Cybertruck news. At least it seems like it's off the Cybertruck news that happened over the weekend, where Tesla produced, of course, their first Cybertruck, which is exciting stuff, of course. Now, all that being said, what can we expect moving forward? So again, keep in mind that the lines you see here aren't obviously too pixel perfect, right? It's just kind of like a rough idea or rough general guideline, but you can see we are in quite a peculiar situation. So first and foremost, right, we obviously have pretty much the granddaddy of all resistances for Tesla, which of course is the red line, right? Ever since all-time highs came up again, garbage after both times, obviously followed by a massive sell-off, but we're finally pretty much right back at it right now. Arguably closing above it. It's pretty damn close. I wouldn't say this is a convincing close above it, but it's definitely close. It's absolutely very, very close. If tomorrow is another green day, this could be a pretty damn good thing for Tesla, right? As shocking as it is, it might go even higher. But with that being said, so that's number one. Number two, we're also at the resistance of this overall channel that we are in, which of course are the two green lines, right? We're pretty much right at the top of that as well, which of course intersects with the red line, pretty much exactly where we are right now. And as if that wasn't enough, we also have this yellow line, which is like a smaller channel, which makes a little bit more sense on the 2-hour time frame, for instance, right? You can see that's the channel that we've kind of been bouncing in and holding for pretty much the whole time, right? Ever since all the way down here, came up, hugged it, bounced off of it, came back down, touched it, bounced off of it, came down again. Pretty much just recently when we came down to that 263 level, and pretty much bounced off of it once again, all the way up even further. Now, what does this mean, right? So on top of those two major resistances I just talked about, being the red line and the green line, we also have, like I said, the yellow line, which is an ascending channel, which also happens to work with this green line. I'm not redrawing it, but essentially what you would normally do in this case, if you want to just see kind of what it would look like for the yellow lines, it would be something like this, right? You will touch as many candles as you can, and it would look something like this. If I were to just, for now, remove this green line, that's kind of what it would look like, which is an ascending wedge, which again, usually, not always, but usually they do play out to the south side. If you ascending wedge, it's usually a bullish pattern that plays out obviously while you're ascending in a bullish way because you're going up, but more often than not, it does actually break down. You go up and then you break back down and you kind of go to the bottom, like similar to what this is showing right here, which would put Tesla somewhere back. Well, in this case, I don't think it'll go this low because it's quite the large ascending wedge. But the point is that it usually plays to the downside, as you can see in all these examples right here. Right, that's again just a rough example of how it usually plays out. Doesn't mean it has to, but it usually ascending wedges break off to the downside. So for instance, something like this, right? Again, it doesn't mean it has to, but there are a lot of major catalysts and major situations that are in right now that are hard to resist and ignore that can potentially lead to a bearish fall. Doesn't mean it has to, but it can. So, and I think honestly tomorrow, I don't think it'll be a major day. I think tomorrow I wouldn't be surprised, and even Wednesday before, of course, the earnings come out, wouldn't surprise me if overall Tesla doesn't do a whole lot, and honestly maybe even continues within this channel, potentially just sitting around this 290, maybe slightly higher, maybe slightly lower, waiting until earnings. And then as we get tighter and tighter and tighter, earnings is where we finally play it out, and we either break up above this and break above the red line, break above this ascending wedge, break above this 290 level and head into the 300s, and everything is phenomenal, which again I do think is a very real possibility, which is why I did re-enter a small bullish position on this drop down we had in the morning-ish, or like early noon, I believe, or something. Yeah, 11 o'clock roughly. I did buy this dip right here. Pretty much the same position that I sold just the other day on Friday. Re-entered the same position. I did sell calls against it to hedge just in case. But the other option, of course, is if earnings, maybe it doesn't go well. Maybe the earnings isn't a beat as maybe people thought it would be. Maybe the margins aren't great. Maybe it's a sell the news event. Who knows for sure? Then I think that's when obviously we play out this pattern, right? We get rejected. I'm going to put the thing back actually quickly before I forget. We can go all the way back to where we were. right? Then I think the ascending wedge essentially plays out, and we pretty much more or less bounce under it, go below it, break below the yellow line, and I think from there we continue making downwards, and we finally begin the cool off situation as well for Tesla. You can see on the daily, the RSI is still showing an overall bearish divergence, where as we're making higher highs, we're still making lower highs on Tesla, right? So you can see the highest high here was back when Tesla was at 274. Then we obviously fell a bit. Then we came back up even higher, went to 282. RSI only went up to this level right here, which was about 72.5-ish. Then we fell a bit. Then we went even higher again, and the RSI again couldn't even breach this high right here. You can see it's pretty close, but it's definitely not higher. So another lower high as the stock is making higher highs. That is a classic bearish divergence. Again, it doesn't mean it has to play out. Nothing is guaranteed in the market. The sooner you learn that, the better. But of course, as of right now, this is a very risky position to be in, because earnings is such a major catalyst, and because we're at such major resistances that it really comes down to earnings. If earnings is great, I think we break through these resistances, especially post-market or pre-market, which usually is easier to snap and break through above or below major resistances, as opposed to like, intraday itself during the market's, actual open hours. That's very possible. Or of course, we just snap down below it and continue, or start rather, the cool off potentially as well. Hard to say what's going to happen, and if anyone tells you they know what's going to happen, they are lying, plain and simple, because no one actually knows what will happen except for maybe insiders, I guess. But even then, they probably don't know how the market will react to the news, right? So just keep that in mind, guys. That's kind of what I am seeing right now. The VIX, of course, being green on a green day in the market usually is a little bit suspicious to me, right? That usually tells me that the market might be due for a little bit of a cool off here. SPY is looking actually surprisingly pretty decent. You can make an argument that maybe this should be a little bit higher, something like this. But even then, SPY is not looking bad. Honestly, SPY is really not looking that bad. Like, I'm surprised it's even this strong. I really did think that it would cool off sooner than this, or have already started, because it was also similar to Tesla at the top of this green channel, which again is Tesla right now. It's pretty much right at the top, but SPY is arguably broke through it already. So that's a pretty decent sign for the market as well. QQQ as well, still making higher highs over here, even though of course the bearish divergence is still active. QQQ still looks pretty strong. Like, even though it just makes you wonder how much higher it can really go, nothing obvious is showing a top signal. I mean, the candle from yesterday did look decently bad. Like, this could have been a bearish take, but again, you need to always see follow through on the following day, which in this case was today, which we absolutely did not see. And instead, we saw a pretty decently looking green candle moving up even higher. So, and actually closing above 380 now, even more importantly. So the market doesn't look toppy just yet. It's as shocking as it is, as you might be wondering, especially as a bear, like, just how much higher can it go? It's not showing any obvious signs of topping just yet. And I mean, technically neither is Tesla. The only thing it's showing that could be topping is the fact that it is at major resistances, but it's not actually showing any major topping signs just yet. So it really comes down to earnings, in my opinion. And I think it is going to be the catalyst that either drives us into the 300s or puts us back down to the mid 200s. Instead. So that's what I'll be waiting for. That's what I am seeing right now. So let me know what you think down below. It's a very crucial day coming up on Wednesday, and I think there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on Tesla for it. But all that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.